Right, so welcome everyone. So this is our Wednesday evening yin class. So you will need some props. So if you can gather a strap or scarf of some sort, that would be good. If you have a bolster, that's great. Do have that to hand. A couple of pillows, blankets. If you have a wall or a chair or something, some point we'll put legs up the wall on a chair at some point. It would be useful. But equally, if you don't have any of that stuff, then, really don't worry too much either. So we're going to come down to lie down on our backs. So making yourself comfortable. Hello, if you're just joining. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Virginia. So lying down. You can have the soles of the feet onto the mat. Allow the feet to be a little bit wider than the hips and allow the knees to touch. So really all that's hopefully doing is allowing the lower back to really settle. The shoulders to settle. You might draw the chin towards the chest. And really feel that the back of the body can rest. Take a bit of time to get comfortable. Take a bit of time to settle in. And you might take a nice, long, slow, deep breath in. And then exhale, release. You might do that a couple of times. And then just let your breath settle and return to a natural rhythm. But just taking some time to transition from whatever you've been doing today, this week, feeling that you can leave that to one side and you can just be here. Maybe closing the eyes if that feels comfortable, or just softening the gaze. And can you be curious about the breath? The way that it moves in and out of your body. The feel of the air, perhaps as it enters the nose. The feel of the air as it leaves your nose or maybe your mouth. Perhaps noticing just how your chest rises and falls as you breathe. Your breath so complex yet so simple. We breathe thousands of times a day, and most of the time we're not conscious of that. We're not aware. Here we just get an opportunity to rest with the breath. Rest with the gentle ebb and flow of your breath. And remember, as ever, if thoughts come, that's perfectly okay. Just offer them a little bit of acknowledgement, a little smile, and then come back to the breath. Come back to the way it feels at the nose, or the rise and fall of the chest. Feeling that that's all you need to do at this moment in time. And perhaps noticing that your body breathes all on its own, perfectly well, all on its own. That you are actually the one being breathed. And with each breath we are offered the gift of life. You might take a slightly deeper, conscious, intentional breath and have a felt sense of gratitude for your breath, for your life force. Your breath providing oxygen, nutrients for your body, so that you can walk and move and eat, sleep, hear, smell, taste. That you can live this one precious human life that you can be on this planet. And perhaps also feeling grateful for your breath's ability to soothe and relax you. Feel that you could relax across your eyes, across your jaw, your mouth, and your shoulders, your chest, your belly, your legs, your arms, whole body relaxing. So this week we've been turning our attention to the attitude of gratitude to change our perception. The practice of gratitude is a powerful practice, a powerful emotion that can remind us about all that is good and right in our world. Even when times are difficult and stressful, it's a reminder. And the more that we do this practice, the more that we strengthen those positive neural pathways in the brain, that we balance out that negativity bias. We're going to explore that a little today. So take another long deep breath in, pausing at the top perhaps, and then a long exhale, and then bring a little bit of movement into fingers and toes. Hug the knees into the chest. You might rock side to side, or you might do circles through the knees, through the hips, if that feels good. Or you might just decide that actually the body needs as much stillness as it can get today. I know many people are saying it's very hot and humid and sticky, very little air, so it might be better that there's more stillness in your practice today. So choose which is right for you by listening in and being guided by your intuition and by what your body is telling you. And then for our first posture, we're going to use the strap, if you do have one. We're going to come into happy baby with the strap. If you don't have it, that's absolutely fine. I'll show you without as well. But you can bring the soles of the feet into the air. Have the feet as wide as the hips, if not a little bit wider than the hips. Soles of the feet pointing up into the air. The knees are bending. And then take the straps so the hands come all the way down so that the elbows can rest on the mat. And the shoulders can be soft. And there's no issues in the back of the neck as well. And you're just having a bend into the knees to where is right. So you'll probably, what we're looking for is that kind of pinch into the hips. And if you don't have a strap, you can just take the ankles. So you could bring the hands in between the legs and take the ankles. And that's absolutely fine as well. And equally, if using the strap just doesn't work for you for whatever reason, just put it to one side and just take the ankles. But what we want to make sure is that the lower back is nicely connecting into the earth. We're not pulling. We're not trying to get anywhere in particular. So I think most people have practiced yin with me before, but I'll just kind of go over some of the principles because they're really important when we go into when we first go into poses. So you want to enter in to a place where you haven't gone beyond your edge, where you haven't gone into a pain where the body might shake and the breath can't flow, where you can't relax, where you can't just be. And it doesn't mean that this is particularly easy. Yin is not an easy form of yoga for many people because it requires that awareness and focus and stillness, which can often be difficult for us. So be gentle. If you need to back away, back away. And really, when you've found that place where you feel you can pause and be with, the intention is to just be still. So yin on a physical level stretches and stimulates the fascia of the body, so the connective tissue that runs all the way through, including ligaments and tendons. So we want to do this in a safe way, but it can become a very, very deep stretch for the body. And we have the intention of staying still because we're going to be here for several minutes. Most of the poses will be holding between 2 and 5 minutes. And if we go beyond our edge, we go into pain, then we know we can move back out. We don't have to stay there and grit our teeth. Always feel that you have options. And then the idea is that we just release as best we can. Releasing muscles, trying to get anywhere. Yin being the opposite of yang, yang being all about doing. Yin is more passive, yielding into what is, letting go. So as little effort as you can. And the breath is always a good place to be with, to keep your focus. To allow you to explore the pose a little bit more. And then take another long deep breath in. Perhaps a pause at the top and then a long exhale. And you can release the legs in your time, and if you can, just release them long along the mat so that the legs can just release. And sometimes you get a release of energy, so we had that kind of closing off at the hips, that squeeze into the hips. You can think of it as almost very similar to acupressure and acupuncture. We have these points within the body where energy can pool, and when we stimulate them, let them go, we can then have that kind of free flowing of energy through the body. It can be sometimes really quite profound and interesting, and you can actually feel it, and sometimes not so much as well. So just explore, just be curious. No right or wrong. I think that's the beauty of yin. There's no particular alignment as there might be in a more dynamic practice. And there's less to get right or wrong. It's all about intuition. So when you're ready, take another long deep breath in. Give some movement into fingers and toes, draw the knees back into the chest. Have a little rock side to side. And then rolling over to one side or rolling on the length of the spine to come all the way back up. And we'll come up into tabletop. So hips over knees, shoulders over wrists. If you feel like you could just do with a couple of cat-cows, you can inhale, gaze up. Exhale, rounding through the spine, chin towards the chest, press through the hands. Inhaling to round. Exhaling. Maybe one more of those. Just seeing how you are, how the body feels. And then sitting back towards child's pose, we're going to bring the right arm underneath the left and bring the right shoulder and the right side of the head down towards the mat. So if you need a cushion for the head, particularly if the floor is hard, then find that. And again, what you're kind of looking for is that squeeze into the shoulder and the upper arm. But you want to let go as best you can. So that left arm, you can just bend the elbow. You can let the right arm release. And let yourself settle and be heavy. You know, feel that the earth can hold you here and support you. And particularly if you're just feeling a bit frazzled at the moment, these can help us to kind of reset the energies within the body. So let yourself just be as much as you can. So many of you have been to classes this week already. You know, a lot of the concepts that we'll talk about, cover some new ones. But really we can think of the gratitude muscle just like any other muscle in the body. It needs to be worked, it needs to be flexed to remain strong and vibrant and useful. And science is showing that expressing gratitude, not only to ourselves, but also to others, to people around us, is really important for allowing those positive emotions to be felt within, to create that container of pleasure and joy and contentment. And it's been shown, scientifically shown in many studies, that it works. There are lots of ways that we can start to bring this into our life and to allow the hormones of dopamine and serotonin particularly to be released in the body. And these are basically the two kind of crucial transmitters responsible for our positive emotions. They've been shown to kind of enhance our mood almost immediately, making us feel happy from the inside. So take another long deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly, slowly begin to move. And before you do the other side, you might want to have some movement. So maybe cat-cow, lengthening the legs, down dog. And if movement just isn't what you need today, you might lie on your belly, you might lie on your back, or anything else that makes sense. So the transitions from one pose to the next are kind of just as important as the pose, the yin pose itself. Being mindful of where you need to go with that. Sometimes just sitting still is what you need. And when you're ready to do the other side, you can come back to your child's pose. Reach the right arm forward, left arm underneath. Find the shoulder, the side of the head, coming down, maybe on a pillow. But finding that squeeze into the shoulder, the upper arm. Letting the right arm relax, so elbow bending, maybe palm facing up. That can be a reminder to me just to kind of let go, be open, be passive to this. So we tend to focus more on the challenges in life and the things that we need to overcome, because really, when you think about it, these demand some action from us. And on the other side of that, we can forget to attend to the things that are going well in life, basically because they're already there. We've already attained them, so we don't have to do anything. But practicing gratitude has been shown to be the best way to remind ourselves of the things that make us happy, and how we can have that long-lasting happiness and contentment. So often in life we're striving for the next thing, for good family life, perfect career, or financial stability, or whatever it is. And we can forget. We can forget about the things that are already good. And we end up attaining those things that we've been striving for, but then just continue striving and not actually pausing and enjoying where we're at. So this is where gratitude comes in. You know, they say, don't hesitate to be happy. You know, if you feel happy, don't shy away from it. You know, remind yourself that you've worked hard to get where you are, to achieve what you have. You know, really acknowledge it and be thankful for it. So often we can, you know, if it's maybe something at work you've been striving towards to get done, and then you just carry on and strive for the next thing and not really pause, congratulate yourself, and really thank yourself for all the hard work that you've done. So it's really important to have those moments where you're really checking in and allowing that gratitude to land. So if you remember from week 2, it's kind of very similar with the happiness muscle. We wanted to be aware of the things that make us happy, and then when we find them, really allow them to sink in. So take another long deep breath in, and then as you exhale, slowly begin to release. And you need some movement, take some movement. We are going to come down onto our belly, but you can take your time to get there. You don't have to rush. You don't have to get there in any particular time. Do cat-cows or circles through the hips, or anything else that makes sense. But the transition movements are always that kind of maybe a little bit slower than you would in a flow class, and a little bit more mindful perhaps. And then when you're ready, slowly coming down onto your belly. You're going to come into Sphinx pose. So have the elbows directly under the shoulders. So do make sure they're directly under. So sometimes what I see is the elbows going back beyond the shoulders. You won't be able to stay there for any amount of time. So the elbows are either under the shoulders, or if that feels like just a little bit too much of a back bend, bring the elbows forward. And hopefully then the belly could rest further down and it would be less of a back bend. If it's still not enough, bring the forehead onto the hands and rest that way. If you do have a brick, what I quite like to do is have elbows under shoulders and have forehead on the brick, because that just allows the head to release, and then I'm not having to hold the head there, but not essential. Allow the shoulders to draw down the back. Allow the feet to be heavy and release, so maybe the heels drop out to the side or inwards, whichever way they kind of naturally go. No right or wrong there. Let go of the muscles all the way up through the legs into the pelvis. Belly soft. And take a moment here to be aware of your senses. Be aware of your sense of hearing. Without engaging, just being aware of hearing. Being aware of your sense of taste, maybe just running the tongue around the mouth. And your sense of smell, perhaps breathing in slightly deeper. Being aware of your sense of sight, even though the eyes might be very soft or closed. Just aware of your sense of sight. And also your sense of touch. So maybe air on the skin or clothing on the skin. Just being aware of all of your senses. And you could say to yourself, for this I am grateful. A reminder of how wonderful it is as a human to have these senses all working and there so that we can really engage in life. For this I am grateful. And then being aware of people in your life. Close friends, family, partner, children. Maybe seeing their faces, feeling their energy. And say to yourself, for this I am grateful. And then turn your attention to yourself, the unique individual that you are, blessed with all of the wonderful gifts and skills that you have to offer the world. Your ability to overcome pain and suffering, and to still love, to still be open. Say to yourself, for this I am grateful. Take another long, deep breath in. And as you exhale, either bring one cheek onto the mat and the arms beside the body, or make a pillow with the hands if that doesn't feel great for the chest. And just rest there for a moment. Rest in that, perhaps, realization that life is a gift, a precious gift. That we've been born into a time of prosperity and perhaps wealth and health and culture and ability to learn, and all of that that you feel living in this time offers you. And you could say, for this I am grateful. For this I am grateful. Take another long deep breath in, and then bring the hands under the shoulders and gradually make your way back to child's pose. So we're going to stay in child's pose for a while, but if you feel that you need any movement as ever, take that before you go into your child's pose. And if you have a prop that you could use for a supported child's pose, then you can take that as well. Whether it's a bolster or even the 2 pillows. I find 2 pillows with sometimes a couple of blankets on top works quite well as well. So, but take your time to get there. Any movement that you need. Set up your little nest. So supported child's pose should be pretty cozy and relaxing and really help you experience that ebb and flow of the breath that we started with, that we sense across the belly and the chest. You could just bring your awareness back to that. Perhaps feeling that gratitude for the breath's ability to have that soothing effect on you, to relax you. And then gently drawing your awareness to your heart. And you might just offer your heart a few deep intentional breaths, a few deep grateful breaths, feeling the physical heartbeat, and with each heartbeat kind of recognize and know or acknowledge that you again been given this gift of life through this beating heart. Connecting with your heart that loves and forgives. Your heart that breaks and heals. Resting in your heartbeat, in the infinite capacity of your heart to feel and through that to enrich your life. Your heart's capacity for pleasure and joy and happiness. And if you have one cheek on the bolster or the prop, you might now bring the other cheek. Noticing any sense of warmth or perhaps relaxation that may emerge as you connect with this gratitude for your heart, for your breath, for this one precious life. Take another long deep breath in, perhaps pausing at the top And a long exhale. And then slowly, when you're ready, begin to move back out. And as ever, if you need any movement, take the movement. Or you can just sit or lie. So we're going to do, when you're ready, no rush, we're going to do legs up the wall next. But there's lots of ways you can do this. I'm just going to show with a stool in case anybody hasn't done it before. You want the pelvis to be as close to whatever you're bringing the legs up, whether it's the wall or the sofa or the bed. I'm bringing the legs and resting. So if it's sofa, bed, chair that you're using, obviously the backs of the calves are going to rest. And that can be quite soothing and just allow you to release. Legs up the wall can be a little bit more intense, so make sure that is okay for you. There are times of the month when it doesn't feel right for me, particularly when I have my period, so if that's true for you, you might choose to do legs on chair or just stay for a little while and come back down. You can do it on the bolster as well. If you have a bolster, you probably know how to do it. But just back of the pelvis resting on the bolster and legs up. And really they should feel as if they can like just hover there, just stay there without any effort. So find a place that you can rest. And with the arms, they can be away from the body, palms up. They can be cactus arms, elbows in line with the shoulders. Or they can be on the belly, on the heart. You know, whatever makes sense, just find a place to rest. Be here for a little while. So really nice and releasing into this. So on a daily basis, how we can bring gratitude into our lives, there's so many different ways. One of the kind of ways that many people use is to use a journal, is to have a little notepad beside the bed, particularly before you go to sleep. It can be useful just to jot down what you feel grateful for from that day. And it can be a really useful one for those that kind of like to write and like to note down things. But it's worth going a little bit deeper with it. So saying what you feel grateful for, why you feel grateful for that person or that thing or that experience that you've had, and how it has made you feel. So it can be quite easy for us to say, I'm really grateful for my house, really grateful for where I live, you know, but why? And how does it make you feel? What emotions does it bring up for you? And in doing that, we start to build on our awareness of our emotions, as well as bringing in these qualities of gratitude as well. So it can be a really useful practice. But for many, that just won't be something that they can keep up or even want to keep up. So there are lots and lots of other options as well. Another one is the gratitude jar. So having a jar maybe in a central point of the house where you jot down something that you feel grateful for. And again, it's useful to say what it is, why you feel grateful, and how it makes you feel. And you can get everybody to do it. Another one is having something. So some people say like a gratitude rock, having a stone, something that solid that you keep in your pocket, in your purse. And when you see it, when you feel it, you get that sense of gratitude. I have one that I keep beside my bed because my friend gave it to me as a gift. and it reminds me every time of her and what we were doing, and how that made me feel, and that I find that really powerful. So it's really finding what works for you and makes sense in your life. None of it's right or wrong. And there are lots of others. There's gratitude walk. In the same way you might go for a mindful walk, or maybe you're the kind of person that walks every day, or pretty much every day, because you're walking dogs, you're walking to work, and it can be a habit that you create, that you're just aware of what you feel glad about in your life as you walk. And it's a useful one to kind of double up on positivity, because walking is good for us anyway, especially if it's in nature. So it's kind of having this habit stacking that scientists talk about. That's really useful to do, because you're already doing it anyway. It's a bit like brushing your teeth and being mindful at the same time. You've got to brush your teeth, so why not double up on what you've already got to do? So perhaps one of them resonates with you that you could bring into everyday life. Take another long, deep breath in. Slow, complete exhale. And then gradually move out. You might just allow the legs to be long and just stay there for a few breaths, because again you'll kind of have that release of energy, release of maybe like a tingling, a fizzing through the legs that you just want to pause and be with for a moment. But equally, if movement is going to be better for you, take that. And when you're ready, we'll come onto our backs again. Draw the knees into the chest. And we'll do a hip opener. So you've got a couple of choices, and it might just depend on your favorite or what you feel like you need today. So you could bring the left foot onto the mat and bring the right ankle across the left knee, and then draw the left knee into the chest and in towards the chest, and interlace the fingers around the thigh. So that kind of thread the needle legs. You could equally just keep the left foot on the mat as well, so you might find that that's actually enough for that right hip. If you would like a little bit more, you could continue to cross the legs, so bringing the right thigh across the left thigh, and then draw the knees into the chest. And go further, you could reach down and take the feet and draw the heels up towards the hips. And that can be a little bit more of an opening for that right hip in particular. That's kind of what we're looking for there. So choosing one of them that makes sense for your body. And if you're doing the thread the needle, you want to bring the right hand in between the legs and the interlace around the thigh. Unless you've found a better way and it works better for you. But see which way. And just so it's not awkward, basically, that you can allow the shoulders to release. You can allow the head to be heavy. And you can rest. We'll be here a few minutes on each side. Allowing that hip and glute to stretch and open and release. So it's said that it's not happiness that brings us gratitude, it's gratitude that brings us happiness. So the more that we can cultivate this awareness of what is going well, what we feel glad about and thankful for, the more that we will create that long-lasting happiness. So we often think when we achieve X, Y, Z, that's when we'll be happy. And often it's momentary happiness, doesn't last. Whereas gratitude gives us that lasting effect. But of course, like anything, we need to practice this. We need to strengthen that neural pathway so that it becomes habit. Just in the same way that it becomes a habit to be aware of the things that bring us joy and happiness in life. The things that allow our heart to open and to feel love. And we also want to be aware of the things that we just feel thankful for. And really let it all sink in. So no kind of bypassing it, which is what the negativity bias of the brain wants us to do. It's just the way the brain is made. It's not wrong. It's just how we're wired. So we can balance it out a little bit more by using some of these practices. So you might just take the last minute here just considering maybe something else in your life that you feel grateful for. Consider why and how it makes you feel. And then taking another long deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly release the legs. You might bring the soles of the feet onto the mat a little bit wider than the hips. If you feel you need some movement, you could then move the knees side to side. Equally, you could just pause there or even lengthen the legs. And when you feel ready to do the other side, you can bring the left ankle across the right knee, or bringing the left leg all the way over the right. Draw the knees in, interlace the fingers around the thigh, or reaching down to see if you can take hold of the feet and draw the heels towards the hips. So depending on which pose you're doing there. Thread the needle or that cow face leg pose. But wherever you go, allow the shoulders to be soft, the neck to release. And there's a quality of just resting. No pulling, no striving, just allowing the pose to do its work. Quite often there's nothing we need to do apart from safely get into that pose. know we haven't gone beyond our edge, and stay there. And that's probably the hardest bit, just staying there, staying still, staying present. And then taking a long, deep breath in. And a long exhale, and slowly release. Again, you might have feet wider than hips, move knees side to side. You might just simply have the legs long or just resting with the knees bent. Choose what you need. And then when you're ready, we're going to move into a twist, a lying down twist. So drawing the knees in. If you have a favorite twist, then you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, you can just bring the knees over to the left. Try to stack the knees and the hips if you can. And then allow the right shoulder to gradually come down towards the earth. That left shoulder could maybe move over to the left a little bit more. And you might go into cactus arms. You might have the arms beside the body, on the body. Just find a place where the arms and the shoulders can release. And what I find kind of really reassuring is that the brain is conditioned to function in a repeated way. It finds it easy, it likes habit. So a person that worries too much about things that are going to happen in the future, the kind of adverse outcomes of something that hasn't actually happened yet, will subconsciously rewire their brain to process only negative emotions and negative information. And our mind actually cannot focus on positive and negative information at the same time. So basically, by consciously practicing gratitude, we can train the brain to attend selectively to positive emotions. And then gradually over time, reducing anxiety, reducing worry, and reducing stress. I find that really hopeful. It's like just putting that little bit of work in every day can make a huge difference to your well-being and how you feel and how you show up in the world. Taking another long deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly begin to come back to the center. Before you do the other side, you might feel like you want to bring the feet down, move the hips, whatever you feel you need, draw the knees in, and then gradually make your way over to the other side. Check in again with the shoulders as you settle down. So you might want to draw the right shoulder further over to the right. So that left shoulder can gradually come down towards the mat. Doesn't need to get there, but just a gradual releasing. Letting yourself settle. It's perhaps worth saying that kind of practicing gratitude doesn't mean that we'll always be happy and delighted and see the world through kind of rose-tinted glasses. You know, in many ways gratitude just asks us to have a sense of acceptance, accepting what might be sad in our lives or what we might be struggling with, and to have a way of reducing how that feels in the body and how we show up, how we act in the world. We don't expect miracles if we, write a gratitude journal, for example. We just start to get a closer view of all of the right things that still exist in our life. So having that gratefulness, gratitude on the inside, we can express it on the outside, and then we start to have a bit more control and power over the struggles and stresses in our lives. Because if we're human and we're alive and breathing, there's always going to be times that are not great. But we can always look for the things that are good. They're always there. Take another long deep breath in. And exhale, slowly coming back. And then when you're ready, set up your Shavasana, whether it's legs long, knees bent, whatever makes most sense for your back. Make sure the lower back isn't niggly. Do any little last movements that you might need to relax, to release. Just take a few moments to rest in that awareness of whatever you may have cultivated through your practice. Taking another long deep breath in, pausing at the top. Long exhale. You might do that a couple of times to gradually reawaken. Then bring movement into fingers and toes. Draw the knees in. Slowly move over to one side so that you can come back up and just sit for a few moments. Maybe the eyes stay closed or the gaze stays soft, just so that inner world stays bright for a little bit longer. Bringing the hands into prayer at the heart center. Closing with one Om. Take a deep breath in. So thank you for your practice. Namaste.